Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to be hosting our guest speaker today, Mooney. And please be mindful that these sessions are recorded and will be uploaded on YouTube. Should you not be comfortable with that, you are free to leave the webinar. Caitlin, I've prepared a few questions that would like to ask you to get to know a bit more about you. So long you can tell us a little about your background while I'll be preparing to share the presentation.
Excellent. I'm really excited. Thank you, TISO, for having me. Thank you, Mainframe Project, for having me.
You're welcome. Okay. Yeah, so this is the little background we pulled about you from your LinkedIn. So I'd like you to tell us more about yourself, explain further what you do in your day-to-day and your work history, including your education.
So I am a software engineer at JP Morgan Chase, and I've been doing a lot of volunteering with IBM and Open Mainframe Project. And I try to do a lot of mentoring because that helps me stay in touch with college students, what's going on in tech, and it helps just keep things fun because it's really, really great to give back to the community. I've interned with UPS several times doing mainframe, and I have several good friends that are still there today. I did some research back at my community college, which is where I'd gotten into mainframe, and then had done business initially. But I graduated in 2022 from NGIT with a degree in computer science.
That's awesome. So some of our audience be looking for jobs and, on the lookout for companies that use the mainframes. Would you tell us about what you were doing at UPS that might be of their interest?
So over at UPS, I was doing a lot of things like we were building Kix regions, and it was just in like development environments primarily, but it was just really, really great technical knowledge and focusing on the learning side. You also want to focus on the business side. That way you can understand what provides business value to the clients, whether they're internal or say you're working for a vendor and you need to be providing business value to a more external actual client customer. So it really, really helps to focus on the technical side. Because in the beginning, especially, you still want to work on those soft skills, being able to get to know people and be able to find areas that you can connect to. And that really, really helps with growth, especially as you're starting out, because technically in the beginning, you really don't know a ton. So when you have the soft skills to fall back on, that really helps kind of compensate for the initial early growth of a career.
Yeah, I agree with that. Soft skills are very important. That's why we're here also, to build our network and expand it further. I guess that's one of the reasons why we have our participants joining us, to learn from us and also expand their network. Would you please tell us how you got into the mainframe world?
That one was kind of funny. I was taking classes at my community college, and I had this one professor who he had been a COBOL programmer before he became a professor. And he only became a professor because his wife made him get back to work. He had been retired for like a week and a half. And the electric company was like, you keep fiddling with things. He needs to get a job. You're taking power down for the block. You need to get a job. So he became a professor. And since he had been a COBOL programmer at various businesses, he had us do things like master the mainframe, which is now Z Explore. And we learned about like Zoe and a couple other things sort of back in like 2018. So it was really, really interesting, really engaging. A couple of us got to part 3, and those of us of Master the Mainframe, which is kind of like completing the Explorer and nowadays. And that really helped us with justifying being able to make a case for an internship. And for
Okay.
research projects, which led to internships.
Just to get clarity on that, is it your research that led to you getting an internship, or is it the
It
combination
really,
of the master, the
yeah.
mainframe challenges, and the research?
So it was definitely a combination. The master of the mainframe honestly helped
Mhm.
more with job hunting, when it
Yes.
was full time because they were like, oh, this. Whereas with internships, sometimes they were like, wow, that's great that you can do it. But like they were also kind of not expecting much as college students without a degree. So
Mhm.
it was really useful for, of course, for the internships, but it was also really useful for looking for full-time jobs.
That's great.
Um,
So I see that you've also been a Z ambassador. One of the time we did the program together, I think that was somewhere, is it 2021 or 2022? I don't remember
Yeah, I think
clearly.
it probably was 2022. And that
Yeah.
was that was a little less it kind of led to me more volunteering with the ambassador
Mm-hmm.
program, and I've tried to continue that. One girl I mentored has gone on, she goes to like Cornell now for getting her master's. So you never know where
That's
people
awesome.
are. I have now
Yeah, yeah.
Devontae held and I held a session together just at IBMZ Day. So it's really
Mhm.
the gift that keeps on giving, in my opinion.
That's great. Devonte is one of the co-hosts. Fortunately, he's not here with us today. So how did you get to become an IBMZ Systems Ambassador?
That one was because I had completed back in Master the Mainframe, which then led to Z
Mhm.
Explore. And while I've only done parts of Z Explore, because I had completed Master the Mainframe,
Yeah.
um, it was really opened a lot of doors. They're essentially they're very similar. Um, just one was on the TS3270 terminal, which is what I use, and have used with my jobs. And the other one is what we're trying to shift to, the IDE for VS Code. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah. So how's the transition from the TN3 270 terminal to the IDE, especially for a
I think
software engineer?
I think a lot of companies, it definitely takes time. And one
Mhm.
of the things, like I know my friends over at UPS, it's definitely been a bit of a struggle. There's a lot of people that are like, no, like this is what they know, this is what they're familiar with.
Mhm.
But there's also a ton of those same people that are just really excited for trying something new, trying something that might make life easier. Um, and when you make life easier um for the employees, that's how you can help them create more business value. And how you can bring in new people to the platform. This is something a lot more familiar than the 3270 terminal. Um, and when you can
Yeah.
move faster and start creating more work more quickly, that's a huge asset to any company.
That's a very good answer. You clearly showed that there's no need to prefer one tool over another. It's a matter of
Exactly. You
efficiency.
you don't you don't really need to
Yeah.
compare the two, but it can help new people start to produce business value
Mm,
faster, especially
exactly.
when
One
it's
time we
making
had this conversation about different tools. Your ZOSMF, your VS Code, and the TN3 270 terminal, and how they all have different tasks to do. So
yeah.
how do you feel about those three tools?
Which ones? It was the COBOL, the VS Code, and
VS Code, yeah, the
Mhm.
ZOSMF and the TN3 270 terminal.
I feel like they all have their uses, and it just kind of it's like adding a different flavor to a language. Like it's really
Mhm.
what makes people most comfortable, what helps them move the fastest. You're always going to
Yeah,
run
yeah,
into like different people prefer to lean on different things. Um, and I think that's what comes down. It comes to personal preference, but that allows people to again, provide that business value because they're going with what makes them most comfortable, what makes them most excited to work, what makes them have an easier time working. And that allows them to produce more and provide even more value.
Exactly. You know, one time I was going through the OMP website and I saw that you were one of their ambassadors. Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely
Yeah.
been a bit of a that one I haven't been able to get as involved as I wanted to, but the education side is really,
Hmm.
really important to me because I'm so grateful for the experiences I had. I had a professor
Yeah.
that was able to pull us in and provide us this alternative to, say, traditional, sometimes sort of alternative to traditional software engineering. And while there's a lot of
Mhm.
value in traditional software engineering, I also and you can still do that on the mainframe. I prefer the
Yeah.
system programming side. And so it's really important to me to be able to give back to the community.
That's awesome. So how did you get involved with OMP?
So OMP, that one was funny because I was looking for jobs towards the end of my
Yeah.
I was definitely behind on the job hunt, which I think a lot of people can relate to. Uh, it's 2022, so you know, it wasn't too bad for the job industry then, but
Yeah.
it was definitely, you know, a bit behind. Um, I didn't have a job secured yet, and so I just started doing different courses through Open Mainframe and through IBM, and that really,
Hmm.
really helped me because these companies were like, "Oh, so you might not know everything, you might not know much, but here's some things that you can have like a 5-minute discussion on, and that you can start your own projects doing." And the COBOL course was just so helpful because I was doing labs with it. And that really, really showed
Hmm.
companies, not only can you have a 5-minute discussion on it, but as to compare it to like a traditional course where you might get a badge for, but you can actually do a couple things and you're familiar with the environment. And so I got offers from I was able to get offers, or at least was getting really high with the interviews before I accepted my current role. But the companies I was looking at were several insurance companies, several different banks, several different government defense branches. So it was really, really cool opportunity that opened up things I had never even considered. Like
Hmm.
what was it? One of the government agencies for like patents does this kind of stuff. The IRS does this stuff. NSA uses mainframes. And that was just really exciting. It brought up a whole different realm of what I was used to with private, but it opened up different opportunities that I never would have expected. So
Yeah.
I'm really,
Yo,
really
yo,
grateful.
it really is. You know, it goes to prove also that the mainframe skills are in demand. And
Exactly. Very, very in demand.
mm, if you take the initiative to learn and, you know,
Mhm.
build up your skills, you can definitely land a job.
Exactly, because there's companies from Walmart, which has
Hmm.
so many mainframes people might not expect, and like CVS, Progressive, again, like the NSA and Bank of America, all different, very different companies. And typically when you're looking at a company, you might be looking at a specific set, say like
Hmm.
healthcare or something else. And you kind of have to stick to something in order to get good. This just lets you so many different companies, so many different types of businesses. You really get to choose where your interests lie. And that's an incredible opportunity.
Yes. I like the fact that you got a lot of offers from different companies. So when you apply for those jobs, are they titled that they are mainframe jobs or they just general IT jobs?
I was focusing on I tended to look for ones that said like mainframe role, and I was going
Hmm.
sometimes I was punching above my weight, as they say. I was going for roles that weren't really because a lot of them didn't show entry level, but then they were like, who's this kid who knows what a mainframe is, you know?
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, well, I guess we'll have to change the plans of this application, but it's worth to throw your hat into the ring, you know? Um, People open doors when you do mainframe. People really, really will open those doors wide for you.
Yeah. It helps to aim higher.
Exactly. And it's just I wasn't really seeing a ton of entry level.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I wish I had known is a lot of companies have entry level programs, especially larger corporations like Walmart, Bank of America, Chase, of course. They'll have entry
Yeah.
level programs that you apply to for like entry level when you're first coming out of college or when you're in
Mm-hmm.
college. But um I hadn't really been aware of that. So I was just looking for mainframer roles and then applying. And they're like, okay, well, maybe you don't have as much of the what do you call it? Of the experience that we're looking for, but you're a
Mm-hmm.
new person interested in mainframes, we'll make space for you.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you mean that you applied for senior roles and you got offered to take on those senior roles?
Definitely did not get offered senior roles. They were like, this is
Oh,
something for somebody with like 30 years of experience. But I was
yeah.
just like blatantly applying for mainframe roles. I was like, it says mainframe.
Mhm.
It's got my name on it. Um,
Awesome. So you mentioned that you used tools like your IBM's Explore and your Master the Mainframe to build your
mhm.
skills. What other resources did you use in order to like build more skills now that you are a professional?
So I would say in getting there, one of the ones that was most helpful because I had done Master the Mainframe several years prior. Like I had done that one in like
Mm-hmm.
2018 and I was looking 2019 and I was looking in more 20 sorry, it would have been 2019 or 2020 and I was looking in 2022. So what really helped me was the COBOL course that Open Mainframe Project provides because I was connecting on the more recent terminals and it was using COBOL coding language and they had labs for it. And so that again was just
Mm-hmm.
really, really helpful. But um yeah, with currently what's really helped is you want to learn things that the company needs, that provides business value. Finding out what your internal clients' needs are and figuring and those kind and they'll tell you what their needs are and that can really help you develop the skills like they want the tools they use to be stable um and then from your department you'll hear what their priorities are which are often passing regulation because a lot of companies within mainframe are very heavily regulated like the NSA or the IRS um are going to be very, very heavily regulated and have a lot of rules that they have to follow. So making sure you comply with things like um, security regulations.
Mm-hmm. With regards to regulations, I'm not sure I understand clearly. Can you
Oh,
please
just making
explain
sure
further
you're
on that?
following, say, security rules and best practices.
Mhm.
Um,
In terms of when you are building software in your day-to-day work.
yes, and maintaining the like system health and hygiene.
Mhm. Oh,
Yep.
okay. Now it makes a bit more sense. I mean, COBOL is one of the languages that are high in demand, especially with
Mhm.
the mainframe modernization journey that most companies are taking. Now they're trying
Yes.
to modernize their COBOL code and maybe convert it to Java. So with
Mhm.
regards to the COBOL programming course that you took, in what level would it put you? Would it put you at an entry level, or you can write proper industry standard software with the resources you got from that course?
I think it's definitely something, the more you do, the better you're going to
Mhm.
get from that course. It's saying, hey, I
Yeah.
could be on a conversation that you can have, that you can actually do it, but you definitely would want to be creating projects and working with
Yeah.
larger data sets if you have access to. So taking that next step of making contributions is really what will help you get to the next level.
Yeah, I know that for the Open Mainframe project, we have a COBOL project that people can contribute to. I'm just not really sure about the guidelines for contributing to it, whether it's restricted to a certain group of people or whether it's
Yeah.
open to the public. As you know, that the mainframe can be quite hard to access
Yeah.
for just about anybody to play with. Do you
Mhm.
perhaps know if it's open for everyone to, build more skills by contributing there?
I think contributions, and I could definitely be wrong, but I think it's most contributions that people make, because I haven't been able to actually.
Hmm.
But
Oh yeah.
it's more like when you make a contribution, it's something that gets reviewed, and people will
Hmm.
provide feedback. And that's something especially when you're beginner coding, that's just that is how it is in an office anyway. Like your code
Hmm.
goes through reviews. And even when you're an expert, if you're making code changes, that's kind of thing that gets reviewed by the entire company, or by the department before you submit it.
Oh, so you can't just directly make changes to the original source code.
Not at UPS and
Mm,
my current, I think at
beautiful.
most companies, you don't make direct changes.
Yeah, because I was also wondering, like as a ZOS systems programmer, like my mentors always have to be there when I'm making changes. So I was asking myself about how developers do it on their side. Do
I
you
think
like have somebody looking over your shoulder, or
yeah,
what's
it's
the
definitely
procedure
finding
there?
good mentorship is really, really helpful.
Hmm.
I think most companies, there's always that joke, I've been seeing circulating lately, that push to prod Friday. I don't think that's something
Yeah.
most companies do.
Oh.
Definitely don't think that's something most companies do.
Mhm. So, Caitlin, you mentioned that you learned a lot of technical skills. I know that the Master the Mainframe challenges and the Z Explore challenges, they teach you a lot of skills, JCL, and all the other skills that you need to learn about the mainframe. So, how did you apply the skills you learned from all those resources in your first mainframe job? I think that would be at UPS, right?
I think every job, especially once you get like a real full-time job versus an internship, is always going to be a bit
Mm-hmm.
of a, not to say a hard landing, but it's like oh my gosh, I have to provide business value now. I have to justify things that, it was more internships, or tend to be more about like the company and learning, you're learning skills to build your resume, and that's kind of what you want to take
Mm-hmm.
from a internship, versus full-time is more about how are you providing to the company. But you always want to be able
Mm-hmm.
to take the skills that you're providing and turn them into things that you can add to your resume. Um, so when you learn what you learn when you land your first job, it's a lot, but you also learn
Mm-hmm.
about prioritization, I think. Um, and being able to make sure that clients' needs are met, and
Mm-hmm.
balancing things like what do the clients want versus what are the needs of the system. Like what is mainframe known for? Stability, right? So
Yeah,
how
yeah.
do you balance, oh, the client wants a cool new tool, exciting new tool, versus making sure the systems don't fall apart. Um, and without proper rigorous testing. Um,
Mm-hmm. So, with regards to testing software, are are all engineers involved, or get do you write your code and then you transfer it to the testers to do the testing on their behalf, and it's another role that's taken up by someone else?
so I know for my role, it's more system maintenance rather than traditional
Mm-hmm.
software engineering.
Yeah,
But
yes.
still within the realm. Um, but no, it's every company is going to be different, but what a lot of
Mm-hmm.
companies are going to have is you have to start with like a development environment, and you typically don't hit production next. There's typically, at UPS there were like two more layers. You
Mm-hmm.
every company is different. A lot of companies are going to have what they call sandbox, and whether
Mm-hmm.
a company chooses to have you test first in development or first in sandbox is going to be dependent on the company, but then they're going to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
other layers. They'll have like sandbox. At UPS, it was sandbox, development, um, pre-production one, pre-production two, I believe, and then production. So there
in
were a lot of
production.
layers and a lot of testing, but that just provides
Mhm.
more opportunity to really understand what you're doing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
because you see so much more. The more layers there are of protection, it can feel frustrating that like, oh, my code isn't hitting production, but
Mhm.
you're the one doing all the testing, you're the one gaining the knowledge, you're the one seeing the project through. As long as the project gets added to production, or even if it doesn't, it's a huge learning experience.
Exactly. So you
Um,
mentioned a lot about being able to provide business value. Are there any strategies that you have that could help somebody new in their role to adopt in order to be able to provide the business value?
so I would say the first rule of business value is don't burn yourself out saying yes too many times. People want
Mm-hmm.
things, okay, great. They can want things, but you do need to be able to prioritize and say and differentiate between wants and needs. But being able to provide business value, how is this helping the company achieve X goals? And you want to be able to identify what the goals of your immediate internal clients are and the goals versus, say, the goals of your role, but also the goals of the company. And how do they align together? And how can you align yourself to other
Mm-hmm.
people? To those internal clients, to the folks above, sometimes the internal clients, and then to your own department, um, to your own role. So finding the alignment and how you can align yourself to other
Mm-hmm.
people's needs and their wants within the mainframe, within your technical field is really, it can be difficult, but that's what helps you provide and bring value.
Yeah, that's a great career advice, and I agree with you that it can be a bit difficult because it's
Yeah.
not clearly visible to someone who's still new.
Yes, it's
And
definitely not always visible at first, but you can start by finding things that you have in common with somebody, with, say, an
mhm,
internal client, and find areas that, you both have your interest in, and then that way, if you can develop more comfort with them, and that way you can get more comfortable feedback and more comfortable getting like advice and really hearing them when they speak, because you know how they operate.
know your customer.
Exactly. Know your customer. Well said.
I believe the part of learning and growing as an IBMZ ambassador, we covered it. Also the learning couple with labs online from OMP
Yes, the labs
resources.
online were so helpful. So helpful. And it
Mm-hmm,
really showed companies that maybe I do know a thing or two. Not a ton, but still learning. Still, these are huge
mm-hmm.
platforms, but it really demonstrates the interest and that you're willing to do it.
Yeah, we covered the IBM Z Explore also. Are there
Mhm.
like any more resources outside of these two that you'd recommend? Maybe they are free of charge that people who are still in university and those who are studying their jobs and do not have enough funds to pay for their own courses can use.
Well, IBM has a bunch of wonderful learning opportunities outside of just the Explorer. They also have a
Mhm.
couple labs as well, and those are really, really helpful. Um,
Yeah.
they're just kind of going through their site and looking for the courses that have labs is what I like to do, because that way, when I was talking about something, I can kind of get a feel for it if you can start to do it, even if it feels like it's above you. You know, you can try and you can get involved in the forums, and the more involved you get, the more you're going to get out of it. The more questions you
Exactly.
ask, the more people are going to respond.
There's a saying in the IT community that you should always choose a technology that has a bigger community support, because then
Yes.
you know that whenever you get stuck, you can get help from just about um, anybody. You know, this if this you in the United States, this means South Africa, and I don't know, maybe
Exactly.
blessing in Nigeria. It's like a really huge network.
And if you're doing
Uh,
work at 12 in the morning and everybody in the US is asleep, which in most technical communities is admittedly not true. You can get help from people in the other side of the world, whether it be like Australia or India. They're always happy within these technical communities to be like, here's an answer to your question. Even though it's like 3 a.m. In my time zone. Like, I don't know how to do this. So it's really, really great to how wonderful and open the community is.
Caitlin, you've been with us for quite a while. The Mainframe Open Education Project. I remember seeing you in a few of our community meetings. I think you'd have seen our Git book. Do you know of any way that we can make it better?
I think it's definitely, it can be difficult to college students to find things, and that's kind of in general, and I think it's definitely improved. I found it by accident because I was desperately like, what can I do to look for a job?
Yeah.
And so I think focuses on that because that's what people want at the end of the day. That's how you can provide a livelihood through a job. So things like doing interview prep would be really, really interesting, I think. Something I'd love to get involved in. How can you help people brush up their resume? I think that would be really interesting. So those kinds of things can be, of course, a lot of work. But templates for resumes that companies want to see are always really, really helpful to students, and guides to, get started. But also, once you get started, what are some project ideas? I know there's, what is it, not 12 days of code or something? There's a Christmas COBOL, advent of code for COBOL, I think, that some folks in England developed. And I think expanding on that would be something that would be really, really extraordinary.
Thank you for the suggestion. And you also mentioned that you'd like to get involved with it. Should we make arrangements for that?
Yes.
Or is it something that you already mentioned? I guess
Yes, absolutely. I have to say, it's such a blessing. The COBOL course really helped me when I was interviewing at various companies because it gave me that confidence. It really, really gave me a lot more confidence in my when I was going into my interviews. So it's really great to be able to give back to this community. This community is an area where can give back. So I think a lot of mainframers appreciate having a group like Open Mainframe Project. Is something very special.
We really appreciate your help, Caitlin, and also the insights that you shared with us today. I believe they will help a lot of new mainframers. It will go along. Like we mentioned that we're going to upload this video on YouTube. Your contribution doesn't just end here. There'll be a lot of people visiting this in the years to come. So yeah, it makes changes in a lot of people's lives. And yeah, with
that's why it's so incredible. So thank you guys for the work that you do.
It's a pleasure. I don't know if we have any questions from the audience that they would like to ask you while you're still here.
Yeah, I would encourage our audience to speak up or type up the questions you have. For me, it's not really a question, but more like a comment. I really like that, Caitlin, you brought up the perspective from the business value. How do I, in a way, design and prepare yourself, or how you did prepare design yourself to meet the business value, to deliver more business value. I think I mean, this is so natural when you mention it, when you say it, but sometimes we're so focused on ourselves to see how do I improve my skills, but what are you going to improve your skills to achieve? And I think you brought up a brilliant point for people to really think, how can I better design myself, develop myself in a more guided way? And I particularly like that you said when you simplify the process and you create values for employees to bring more business value to to the whole picture. So I really like that. So thanks for sharing that perspective.
Thank you. Thank you. It's when you can form those connections with people, it can really help you grow the business value. It can help them be more open to sharing what they need and what they want. So, which of course helps you provide more business value and helps you kind of meet those needs, but also end up going above and beyond for the clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have very seasoned manager here today with us. JJ, any comments to add to Caitlin's sharing?
Yeah, I'll just echo the point that you brought up, Nancy, that Caitlin raised around, business value. It's certainly a differentiator between coming in and just sort of saying, I can do this job, and then more position yourself as someone who says, I can not only do this job, but be a future leader in the space in a place where it's really needed because of everything that's changing within the mainframe world. So I very much appreciate that perspective as well.
Thank you. One thing I will say, I suppose I have a question for all of you guys. It's when you're still new to the space, like I've only been working in this space now full time for like 2 years. IBM has a whole new to see section, and that's getting a first job is great, but once you have that first job, growing your skills, whether you want to look for other opportunities or internal promotions, the items to look for it can feel really daunting. I know for myself, it definitely is like, oh, what should I be doing to be achieving, X, Y, Z? Of course, focusing on not burning out is the most important thing. You definitely don't want to take on more than you can manage, because it's better to see a project through than being on 50 different projects. But
You've got a hitchhiker there.
yeah, so little birdie who has opinions sometimes. But finding ways to not burn out is definitely important.
And I think sort of keeping your eyes open to other opportunities and being ready for them when they appear. One of the sessions we recently participated in as part of MOE and OMP was at Share Kansas City, and we talked about learning more about the mainframe as a business. And, your comment earlier lended a lot to that in terms of don't be afraid to take other opportunities that may be less technical, but help you learn more about the mainframe as a business and its role within enterprise computing overall, and switching back and forth between business and technical roles. It can really strengthen your outlook in the future around not just, lifetime employment within the mainframe, but lifetime employability in terms of your willingness to be open to those opportunities. So it's the more never stop learning, and, look at things like conferences and OMP education, all the different opportunities that are out there to keep learning about adjacencies and what else is changing within the community and the ecosystem.
Thank you. That's really good advice.
And we did have one question that came in, Nancy.
Yeah, I'm reading it. So one of our attendees asked, how can new mainframers contribute to the community? Caitlin, why don't we start from you? And I know there are also resources here we can share with everybody.
Yeah, I think there's a ton. There's a lot of ways to contribute. This is one of Open Mainframe Project is really special in that it is a really great way to contribute, in my opinion. There's a ton that you can do. There are groups like they have the Zoe groups. They have a few others. Now my mind is blanking, but they have Zoe, they have the COBOL, several different. They have the Mainframe Open Education division. But there's also ways, like there are so many different colleges that have programs and need help. They need to see people that are in roles. So finding ways to contribute, such as getting involved with a local college that has maybe a mainframe course, or needs somebody to teach a course, can be a really great way to give back and contribute. And that helps you build your skills by giving back. It's great but because you get, you know, the community is always really grateful for that, but you learn so much by teaching others.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Learning by doing, learning by teaching. Those are
Exactly. Helps you stay relevant.
Yeah. Tiso, if you don't mind, let me quickly share for a moment of the MOE Git book we have here that resonates nicely with Caitlin just mentioned. As all of you know that for Mainframe Open Education, we have a Gitbook working space that we encourage everybody to jump in and contribute content into the space. So as you see, we started this project by having the welcome section, welcome chapter all the way to chapter 1, what is a mainframe today, and all the way to chapter 5, the career path opportunities. So far, so you as a new to main as a new to mainframe learner, this is actually perfect. While you are exploring and learning through using many other learning resources, I'm sure you would have content and resources like that just click with you better than others. And we encourage you to bring those resources into under these different topics. If you learned something recently about a foundational technologies, and you think that going to be great serving your learning purpose and other people, go ahead, bring them in here. We're happy to have those piece of content listed here for you and for everybody else. If you have the one-pagers notes that you created along your learning, we also welcome you to bring it in here just to share your thoughts and share your path with others. So I shared the link in the chat, so go ahead, click on that, and if you would like to be the contributor in the space, please send me a message. Could be via LinkedIn, could be via MOE Slack channel. Send me the email address you used to register for the space, and then I would love to add you as a contributor to this page. And from there, you can start contributing into various topics of your interest. We also encourage you to share your personal journey of your learning. We have a space here that's called my mainframe journey from students to professional. So we have some people shared their story of starting as a student and become a mainframe well, I would not say expert at the point, but expert to be in the very near future. So if you have a blog that has been written up, or if you are targeting writing up a blog, go ahead and send us a link, and we would love to promote your story here as well. So let it be learning resources, let it be your personal journey. Let's take this approach, learning by doing. If you see something valuable for you and you think that it can benefit more just like you, go ahead and send them over, and we're going to publish them here for you. So everybody in the community could view and keep adding to the source. And if it is for learning resources, right? We have a few resources sent into the chat of today's panel. So just go ahead and check them out. Tiso and JJ, the Mary Blessing, anything to add to that?
Not much. I'd like to add more on how the new mainframers can contribute to our community.
Sure.
We are looking for more people to add content, as Neishi has said. These are the chapters that we have. So it depends on your background, whether you are more technical or you'd like to maybe help out with hosting the webinars like we're doing. So that's all up to you, which side you are more comfortable with. But yeah, we are always looking for more people to join. We have an invite link that once you apply through that link, the administrators will approve of your request, then you'll become one of the contributors. We also have badges that you can earn as your contributions stack up. you get to go through different stages. We have 3 badges, level 1, 2, and 3. They all have different requirements for you to earn. They also add value to your profile, show that you went through this learning course and you provided value to other people's lives. So yeah, that can help you a lot with looking for jobs.
Absolutely. And go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I think it's important to that, like, it can feel really anxiety inducing, but you can contribute at any level. If you're starting out, you're just like, what are the questions I ask? What are the questions that you have? And
Yeah.
those are great ways to contribute, even if you're not really sure how to get started with contributing. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah, start with the questions you have yourself and then try to answer them. And I bet there are other people having the same question and you are just helping answer them.
And if you don't want to jump right into Git, you can join the Mainframe Open Education Slack channel and start asking questions there and figure out how to get further engaged. It's a great way to get in touch with the wider community for OMP overall, but then the individual projects. As Caitlin mentioned before, there's 4 official projects that are going on: COBOL modernization, MOE, the Zoe project, and I am also, I think it's Galasa is the 4th official. And then there's a bunch of other versioning projects that are coming around. And so there's mentorship, menteeship opportunities that happen throughout the year. But also you can learn more about the different projects and make sure, that your interests align with what's happening across the space. And so it doesn't have to be MOE. We would love for that to happen. In terms of, selfish representation and a pitch, yes, we would love that. But, there's a lot more going on across the Open Mainframe Project where you can contribute. So, just get in touch, start asking your questions, and, we're happy to answer. We definitely want to get more students involved and connected because that's really why MOE was formed, was to help students start understanding the mainframe's role within enterprise computing and the potential it has, not just in being a job, but a career, and really, getting basic through intermediate through advanced knowledge and information at no cost, which is a differentiator in the industry, right? The vendors that are involved are going to sell their education for the most part. So, this is a way for people to learn more and start getting information from people within the community more easily. So.
Yep. Thank you, Tiso, for sending the Slack channel. So yeah, everybody jump in. We get one more question. How can mainframe enthusiasts access resources or training to help in building their career? If you're enthusiasts, if you're committed.
Yeah, I know Yetunde. Yetunde is really enthusiastic about the mainframes. It's just about learning from the resources that Caitlin mentioned, starting with your IBM Z Explore and also using our Gitbook. From our Gitbook, you can get a lot of theory. And then from the IBM Z Explore, you'll get a lot of practicals to do. So that helps you to build some muscle memory on how to implement the knowledge that you were learning so that it translates into practical experience. So yeah, those are the free resources that we know, and also the mainframe, the Open Mainframe Project COBOL programming course. It's really helpful and it's free of charge.
So wonderful, wonderful opportunity. I really suggest getting involved. It gives, and getting to a point once you can start giving back too.
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you still here with us, go ahead, join our Slack workspace. That's the first step. Let's get connected, and then all the opportunities we have here, we will equally share with everybody. If you would like to take more responsibilities, hop into the Mainframe Open Education core team, and then we would love to meet you on a weekly basis and talk about what we can plan, what we can do, and what we can implement, and then really make that impact show.
Yeah. And I love how Caitlin suggested that she can also contribute to the project. You know, it
Yes.
goes to show everybody that, you know, it's just about adding value. You don't have to do a lot, you know, just the little value that you can add goes a long way. So like if you have any suggestions like hers that, you know, you could do interview preps and, you know, work with her on that, you're also welcome. You know, that's a good place to start. You can build up from there.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great questions. Do we have more questions? If you would like to unmute yourself and go ahead, ask, please do.
We don't have any more questions. I guess it's about time to close it. Or
Alrighty,
what
thank
do
you
you
so
think,
much for
Nisha?
having me.
Yeah. Thank you
Yeah,
all
it's
for
a pleasure,
attending today.
Caitlin.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
all. Have a
Maybelline.
great day.